All right, well, let's call the meeting to order and we'll start with roll call then. Lexi O'Brien is here.
Salisbury is here.
Emerson Smith is here.
Vince Assedes.
Brian here.
Jill Magruder.
John Buck here.
All right. That's it. We have enough for a forum, so we may as well look at the minutes next. And I think we've got, I'm gonna double check, do we have all the names here? Cosgrove, okay, those, the list of roll call looks right to me. I had one call out on the second page. And I probably wouldn't have caught it if I hadn't been reading the ordinance so carefully. But there's a paragraph that said Jill discussed the current lack of public interest in police engagement. And it said something about PCBs need to be proactive, possibly advise the police department regarding policy, noting the board seems stuck at step one. And then it says, it should be noted that the PCEB is not a policy advisory board. But oddly enough, the ordinance specifically calls that out as one of the duties is an advisor on policy, and that the police department can come to us to do that. In fact, we have given feedback on policies or things that they were considering ordinance changes. So I just wanted to strike that one line. I'm not sure. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Okay.
I was gonna read that as well.
Do we have anything else on that? No? Okay, so I guess we'll just have that one change and then next time we meet, we'll be able to
We
approve
can
it.
vote on it with the change.
Pardon?
We can vote on it with the change.
We can vote on it with the change. Oh, because there's no rewording, it's just striking along.
Striking it out. yeah.
Perfect. Well, then, I move to approve it. All in favor?
Yeah.
Okay, it's approved. Yay. Thank you. This is not on the agenda because we hadn't gotten any recent responses from our form, but one just came in yesterday and I thought that I would read it. I'm not even sure that it's really a policing thing. It could just as easily be a traffic committee thing, but I'll go ahead and read it and we can tax this person. So the question or concern is illegally parked cars on Big Bend in Old Archer. They want to engage businesses along Big Bend to sell parking. Customers daily park in front of businesses with no parking signs, which causes blind spots for pedestrians and drivers.
So I'll jump in here, obviously.
Yeah.
It's complex because it's not, it sort of could fall under TAC, but it sort of doesn't just fall under law enforcement in general. And tying in this and then everything else that we've talked about in terms of what I've tried to bring to the table in the past meetings that I've participated in, that's a great example of something that we could partner on
Yes.
to go out to the community, say, hey, let's bring everybody together. What are your concerns? The business owners can come out that are affected over there, and the residents that are affected. We could send cars over there and we could write parking tickets. What's that gonna do? It's gonna stop it for a little bit, but I think if we can bring more stakeholders to the table, I think that's a better, more holistic way to approach it. And it's something that we're willing to do as a police department.
Mhm.
And I think that ties into everything that we've been talking about. And some of the things that are discussed in this study that you said.
Yeah.
Hi, how are you, Jen?
Good, how you doing?
Good, thanks.
All right.
So do you want to share that? Can you share that with me? Are you allowed
Absolutely
to?
can. You should be on the distribution list, but I'll bet you it's still going to
Yeah, probably.
Curtis's now defunct email. So
Yeah.
You guys have to change that? Can you? guys-
the city set it up. So I'm not sure who to ask, but
Aaron, do you know who we would ask about that? Would Lexi have to make that request or?
No,
I
it's
can't-
supposed to be going to you anyhow, it's
Okay.
one of the bits of forms.
Okay,
I just forwarded them.
thank you.
You need like community person.
That's exciting.
yeah, well, there's something we could work on. Yeah, when you think about that particular area, there isn't a whole lot of public parking available there. I mean,
Yeah.
across the street, there's the big lot, but that belongs to Starbucks and the businesses there.
Isn't it like during certain times you can't click there? It's like one of those specific no parking.
And it's not the whole street either, it's just parts, it's confusing,
Yeah.
it is. I inadvertently got upset because somebody pulled over and parked and I thought, how can you do that? It's no parking. And then as we got past him and I was just, getting ready to clear, I'm like, oh, sign's not up until another couple spaces.
Yeah. it is
So,
confusing.
That might also overflow into street parking for residents. We have somebody who owns a business
Mhm.
and parks his big white van across the street from us, and nobody's supposed to park on our side anyway, so it's a little bit narrower. But I'm not so sure that's at least not courteous, much less not legal, but anyway, I know it's a different topic, but kind of related, so. But dealing with this one may add some emphasis to people who are doing that as well.
Okay. So the next item in our agenda is discussion of our ordinance. And we had a lot of reading that hopefully you had time to do and some reflection on the ordinance. Some of us had the benefit of doing a group exercise. Well, I guess it's just the three of us and Barb as a spectator. It was about a year ago, a little more. And so I still found that helpful. I pulled out my old notes, but it is still a lot. There's a lot in the ordinance. So does someone want to, I thought a little bit about what's the structure for this, and I don't know that I came up with a good one other than giving everybody an opportunity to share their thoughts and we go from there. Sound good? All right. Who wants to kick us off?
I'll start.
Okay.
So I'll speak specific to the
Yeah.
the assignment that you gave us.
Mhm.
As far as the ordinance, I'll leave that to the attorneys. And
Mhm.
That's dangerous.
and I'll be honest, when you sent this out initially, when I looked at it and I looked at the title, I was like, what am I about to read here? It wasn't what I thought it was gonna be. There's some really good nuggets in here in terms of some of the struggles other similar boards have had throughout the country. And then also from my standpoint, I think that they provide, they say on page 7, they talk about 3 functions, right?
Mhm.
That's great. That's fantastic. I think those are exactly some of the things that we would absolutely love to partner with this board on.
Mhm.
And I think a great example of that is this, and I think it was a missed opportunity for us. And I'll do a better job next time. I just think we didn't have a meeting for over a month because I know we got a meeting that was canceled, but in that time frame, we had scheduled out that coffee with a cop. I think that would have been a great time for a couple people to kind of join us over there.
Yes.
And we did have some great conversations with many community members. And I'm going to be more mindful reaching out to you directly, saying, hey, we got this coming up. This is an opportunity. Just was involved in doing a mystery reader at one of our local schools, and wow, what a terrific experience. Loved it, went there as the chief of police, was hanging out with these kids for about an hour. Just hanging out, just being me, just hanging out with these kids and answering their questions and reading a book and then answering more of their questions. That was a great opportunity that led to what's to come. We're going to do a pizza with a cop with some of these students. Identify a group of students, we're going to do pizza with a cop. When I get closer to a date, and that should be sometime hopefully within the next 4 to 5 weeks, I'll let you know. And if anybody wants to, jump in and join us, you're more than, if you can, that'd be great. Love to have you.
What age were the kids that you were with?
I think they were 2nd through 5th graders, 2nd through 5th graders. Yeah, but, again, we have a Halloween thing coming here in front of the station with our police officers, our police association, and our fire service. I don't know if there's a way for you guys to nest into that, just to even stop by to say hi. I know that there hasn't been a lot of communication between this board and some of the frontline personnel downstairs. That might be a good way to bridge some of those gaps. Just some suggestions. And again, I just think that when you take the initiative and you start with some of the smaller projects, some of those things tend to snowball. And then before you know it, you're involved in some of the bigger collaborations. So I like that. I like the 3 things that they outline in terms of what community advisory boards, community engagement boards are supposed to or should be really looking at and emphasizing. There were a number of other things that kind of piqued my interest in terms of some of the things that they say you should kind of try to steer away from. These are all things that you guys have talked about before in many of our previous meetings. But I thought it was very informative. I think it's a terrific article. I think it's a great way for you guys to kind of level set and kind of decide what the best path forward is. But I think you guys know where you're going to go. I just think it's kind of a matter of deciding what that first step is going to be. And once again, like I've always said, whatever you guys decide is that first step is going to be, I'm going to support you. I'm going to partner. I'm not, what's the term they use here? Pro forma. I don't look at this from the perspective that this is a pro forma effort. From our stand, it's not. I can't speak to my predecessors, and I don't think it was for them either. But for me, this is what I've built my career on these partnerships, and I intend to continue. We might not always agree on everything, but when it comes to connecting with the community, that I'm going to be 100% involved in it. So that's my 5-minute overview. Thank you for allowing me to have a platform to do that.
As I was reading this, one of the phrases that popped out was about the selection of members, people that are really engaged in the community and visible in the community. And I will have to raise my hand and say, I am not a visible person in the community. So one of the weaknesses that I think I have, and has been a challenge, is that I'm really more a back office player, Let me work on communication plans. I'll do that kind of thing. But it's intimidating to go out in big public spaces or even small ones if I don't know what is my purpose. What am I supposed to do? Give me a script. I'm okay. So I think, and I also, I really like Dale a lot, but he seems much quieter. He seems like a quiet, more reserved person. And so I think some of it might come down to personal styles of what are we comfortable in getting an initiative like this up off the ground. If you don't have a lot of structure around what you're supposed to do and you're worried about stepping over some kind of line that there is. So that was just one of the thoughts I had.
Yeah. Well, you got a guy here now that, I'm pliable, I'm adaptable, and I don't mind being the person that's standing up in front of a group of people and talking about what we're doing. regardless of whether or not that's your strength and your strength is kind of sit in the background and kind of, you know, be sort of a puppet master of our output. I'm cool with that. But I just, I really want this relationship to
Yeah.
work out, and I hope we can start doing some things that are substantive.
Sounds good. Who else would like to go?
I have all sorts of random thoughts. Very random. I was kind of tempted to go to the very end to Emerson's death memo. The death memo. I thought it'd be helpful because he mentioned in his memorandum that there was a lack of noticeable results. And to me, I'm wondering, what do we believe to be, what are noticeable results? Once we knew what that was, the results that we're looking to be able to actually visualize, then we could work all the way backwards, and the ordinance is kind of an easy fix. I looked at the ordinance and I honed in on this study as well on page 7. I didn't know why that couldn't be our purpose, just what it sets forth, the 3 purposes. Because right now, because I'm the lawyer, I read the ordinance and the purpose is incredibly narrow. If you read it literally and you believe that things that come after a colon are a list of things that your purpose is, there's only a list of one thing. So it seemed to me that our purpose under the ordinance, maybe it is going to be public safety in general, which sounds fine to me. I don't know if we want to take over traffic. I don't know why we do that to ourselves, do anything with traffic, but making it public safety to have the fire department and emergency management as part of the outreach that we have. If we wanted to be broad enough, you could easily change the ordinance to do that. But I haven't identified yet what the noticeable results are that we're trying to achieve yet. To me, and at least when I looked at this board, I thought that we're a volunteer board that meets 9 times a year, and we are the engagement. We're engaging with the police chief every time we meet. And other people from the community are welcome to come and join us in that engagement. And we can do other things, other events as well that we could sponsor or that we could promote, kind of like they talk about facilitating outreach for community events. And we could do that above and beyond our 9 regular meetings. But I haven't identified yet what beyond being here for the community to come meet with us and the police chief, what type of results we're looking to achieve above and beyond the meetings. And I know I'm rambling, but if you look at our duties, they're incredibly broader than our purpose. So I noticed that also, and I was looking at it as a lawyer. And the membership too. I know people have spoken about the membership, that can be corrected as well, so it's not quite so restricted. I know I just kind of teed myself up to be on the damn ordinance committee. But I kind of went to the very end to Emerson's memo, and then I went back to the very beginning, which is the ordinance, and that's kind of where I'm stuck right now. As a newbie that doesn't know what most of you are talking about.
I think that's very valid, though.
Okay.
That was something that I know when we were drafting the plan to present, it was, we didn't really have a model of what should be in there and an enumeration, other than, you know, there'd been this public listening session that's public only, and we'd always struggled with that one. So,
Yeah, I can go next. Yeah, I took away from that mostly the 3 things that you hit on. Like that sounded exactly like something we can even replicate in the ordinance in terms of, Chief Estevez already said it, but serving as a bridge between law enforcement and communities, operating as a founding board for policing agencies, and facilitating outreach for community events. So really kind of like that's what I took away from that and what I feel like we could start from in the ordinance, kind of going backwards, like in terms of facilitating outreach for events, like that's where we could serve as an extension of what you guys are doing. So Coffee with the Cop, how can we use our community networks, this forum to get more folks there, and etc. A sounding board for policing agencies. So this is where, and I recognize this may be more work for maybe you, like if there's annual review of existing department policies, maybe each meeting we take a look at 1 or 2 that you guys are looking at and adjusting changes, and we can be that sounding board. Things like that, like a good example, when interim chief Perks brought up the proposed legislation around the youth ordinance.
About concealed
Yeah,
carry and
concealed
making
carry
not-
that, that we were kind of, maybe a first step in terms of a sounding board, and then depending on what next steps would look like, that would feed into the community outreach piece if we want more engagement. Same with the parking situation, like maybe ideas start here and then we go to the community to get feedback on those ideas. And then of course the bridge between law enforcement and community is, I think, David, to your point, it's like these meetings are one mechanism for folks to come directly to these meetings. We've got that online feedback forum, so just continuing to make sure our residents know that these mechanisms to get in touch with us, with the police department exist, should there be issues, concerns, and so that we can raise them in this setting. But yeah, I like those three functions. I think being that sounding board piece, that's kind of, if I think back to when I joined, what I kind of thought this would be like, that's a little bit of what I thought is more, but recognizing that none of us are experts in law enforcement, all we can provide, I think, is an opinion of the community, and maybe bringing, playing devil's advocate, like the drones and privacy, and just like asking those questions from a community perspective to help inform next steps, even in whatever it is you're doing. So yeah, I'll stop there. Right, other notes, but yeah.
One thing that I think would be helpful, and especially since we have new members coming, it's not like we have a set time because we've been down below our official membership for so long. And so we never have an orientation, and there hasn't been, and then we had the change in leadership that, well, it would be nice to have an orientation packet that is a little more streamlined than the entire police handbook. And all, that's a lot to digest, and
Is that what they gave us?
we don't really have like a packet.
Oh,
that's
I thought you
brief.
said they gave you the police handbook.
Well, we have, I have
Yeah.
access to a lot of documents.
There's like
Early on.
300 plus policies that they all live online.
Oh,
Like
Yeah.
but I mean, it's 300 plus policies.
Right, and I think if there were kind of an executive summary or an orientation document, that I think we need a certain level of knowledge about policing. I know I didn't have any at all really when I came here, other from what I would read in the popular press. So it wasn't from a policing perspective. And that was something else that came up in here is, you want to have a broader perspective, both, the policing perspective, perhaps a legal perspective, civil rights, was in law. And so that, I think that would help us maybe feel more confident too. If we were taking a role in more of a sounding board on policies.
Yeah, and not to derail us too much, if there's Citizens Academy, if that gets relaunched, or even ride-alongs, if that's like an option for some board members to just kind of get more of your perspective.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
think that can only help.
and I'll respond to some of that right now, because there was a lot. So I'll start at the end. Ride-alongs, we're absolutely amenable to that. Police Citizens Engagement Board. I don't know what's been done in the past. I have to do some research, look into it. To be quite honest, though, right now at this point in our organization, a couple things are going on. Right, we're doing some reorganizing, getting my house in order, and I'm down right around 20% of my staff. So some things have to get done before we really strongly even have a conversation about something like that. But yeah, absolutely, right along, so we are amenable to that, and, just reach out to me and let me know, and I'll. What was the other thing? Oh, the executive summary from, clarify that for me. I know what an executive summary is, but what are you looking for in that executive summary from the police department? Something that's specific to, hey, here's a general summarization of, police policies, police operations for Webster Groves Police, 1-page document. Here you go. Just give you a general understanding. Is it like that, or
I
should I
wonder,
go do some research and see what, what Oakland and some of these other communities that were mentioned in here, what are they providing to those people?
well, yeah, I don't know that it has to be specific to Webster Groves.
Yeah.
I think just and I don't know if executive summary is the right word for it either. I almost need like a reading primer of, here are some of the basic tenets in policing and some of the key policy areas.
Yeah.
And then, there are certain things that have been brought to us by the police department, like these are our use of force policies. And so then it does get specific to our department. But I just felt generally, maybe we could have been better prepared. And so maybe that's part of what we do with our ordinance. I'm not opposed to doing some Google searching myself. I mean, Jill found this article and it turned out to be really good.
Yeah, and that may be like step 2 after we get
Yeah.
the ordinance figured out.
Yeah.
Just
More of a,
curious. Just trying to-
I think it's sort of like before you go to class in college, you get a campus tour.
Yeah.
And you see it.
yeah, yeah.
And there may be a way to kind of say, hey, here's the philosophy of policing, here's how we're staffed, here's some basic stats about, what we confront, it would just be sort of like a short reader to kind of go, all right, here's how it works here. Now I can show up at the meeting and have some context. And I would think that whatever that could be would tie into these 3. That might be the structure of how you would describe that. But I would also add just, I think these 3 things are good. I think we would have to give examples of what these 3 things would include. And we've got like 11 things here to choose from in the duties. So like one of them is convene at least one citizen listening team session per year. Well, that's us being a sounding board. So we say we're a sounding board, and we use some of this narrative in the current ordinance to give us examples about here are the 2 or 3 things that we will do under the heading of being a bridge, under the heading of being a sounding board. And then maybe anything that's a introductory thing to a new board member would include this, but it's sort of like a state of the place for how we're organized, so we can kind of have a little bit of that. That is more interesting to kind of bring in conversations about. I know we said this, but let's take a deeper dive on drone use or use of force or whatever. That's how I kind of see it flowing. Is that's what that could maybe be. We've got 3 things here. I think we use some of this narrative on page 4 to define what that includes. And it's just a couple of bullets that kind of just flesh it out without hemming us in too much to not, extend another direction. And of course, just so it's said, this idea of how we're structured, one person from the university, one person is a doctor, one person is a therapist or whatever. I think that really hampered us to not have a full group of people that will be committed for more than 1 or 2 meetings. So if we were to, and I'm not sure how to rewrite that, but I think you could have some criteria about here's the kind of involvement we want this citizen to provide. So
It's the only commission that have that type of description in their scriptures.
Yeah, look at this police public safety advisory board you sent us. It's all of 4 paragraphs, right? I mean,
Oh, from
The
they
old
had a
one?
long time ago?
yeah. I don't think we have to belabor the specificity of what we're trying to get into the ordinance, right? And I'm stuck thinking about what you were talking about as going to the end and working our way backwards, right? I was really energized by that last meeting because I think we can find our purpose not by looking at what Oakland's doing, but thinking about what the people in this room are here to do and why you want to be a part of government. You said last week, I was inspired by what you were talking about, why you got involved and I don't want to, not do anything, right? I've got limited time in my schedule. I got 2 young kids. I got a job. I got places I volunteer, things I'm involved with, and I'd really like to make an impact, right? And not just for the purpose of making an impact, but so that Webster Groves can have a community that thrives, right? And I think what we talked about and what we got to the bottom of were the few issues that you brought up, how quickly we all got behind those, right? And thought about it, and they were real structured things. And I think the hardest thing I've had being a member of this board for, I think, 6-9 months now, is this kind of, where do we go to listen, right? And it was just a frustrating experience to try, and the problem is that was reactive to something that didn't seem to really be present anymore, right? So what is present? And is there a way for us to write this where we do become a not just a sounding board, but a connection point between not just the police, but fire and other government services and the people in figuring out ways to solve problems, because there really isn't that touch point, right? And then advise the council as to things that we would think would be helpful, because we were sitting out there listening and nobody wanted to talk about what we wanted them to talk about, right? And so what do people want to talk about? I think there's some real low-hanging fruit there. And I think if we write this simple and clear, I don't know, and of course, direction on what's going to be acceptable, right? And what the need is. But I like this article and I think it's great, but I also think it takes us a little bit away from the direction we were heading last week, right? And brings us kind of back into what is happening around the country and how do we fit into something that may not be what we need to be, right?
What do you mean by that? It may not be what that last statement you just made,
Well, we're looking outside of our community for something that we need for our community, right? I mean, this is a national study of community advisory boards, right? And so I think one of the failures of the police community engagement board at the time, and I wasn't here at the beginning, right? Is it felt like a local response to a national issue, right? Even though a lot of it was localized north of here and a lot was going on, it wasn't a response to what was going on necessarily in the Webster Groves community. And so that's where I was getting excited about last month was, okay, these are things that actually impact people's lives, and we could actually do things that might change their ability to police and our community's ability to cooperate with the police, right? And being that touch point, I think, would be really great.
Yeah, I think that goes back to one of the things we wrote up about proactively responding to those community concerns, and those become the, I don't know, duties isn't the word, but that becomes an area of focus, that becomes an accomplishment that we can say, this is what we've done this year. And if it's something that is brought to us in things like the online form, parking, well, then we know there's some interest already that's coming to us unsolicited, and perhaps it would be easier to get people to come. I mean, it could even be something like, we're going to designate this particular meeting this month as a discussion of parking in the business district, and we would structure it differently. Maybe we'd meet a half an hour earlier and get meeting minutes voted on and something, and have an hour for community discussion. So I know this is more like just random thoughts, but that's where my mind started going after our meeting last month.
Yeah, that feels very tangible to me. Like, we know parking's on everyone's mind. I think that is kind of on us to try to get those come to a meeting or we meet them to talk about parking and to try to get into what is it about parking and then we take that in partnership with the police, of trying to come up with a solution that.
We got, several commissions, got TAC, Traffic Advisory
Yeah,
Commission.
that's
to-
true,
To look
yeah.
at that. And then like today we had the old Webster, they was talking about parking and how the delivery trucks should park on Lockwood, so don't block traffic and things of that nature. So we have several other commissions that are gonna be involved with.
Invite them too.
Right, right.
You
it
know,
could be
we
like
would
a
just be
cross.
the spark that gets it started. Perhaps.
We currently let the public know what our agenda is going to be at each meeting.
It is posted on the city's website.
I think there's other avenues for us to make it
Um,
more well-known, so we're kind of making sure people know what the dialogue is going to be about each month.
There are other things we could do. We could use, the city has social media channels. And if we wanted to publicize and, extend an invitation to say, hey, we'd love to have more of the community participate, and here's our agenda. We absolutely could do that.
There's a,
I know we go through, I don't know the right process. I know we don't reach out to the city staff to say, here, post this. But we could put something together and,
they'll get it out.
yeah.
And there's a new, well, not a new feature, there's a feature on the website where it'll push that information out to them.
Oh, is there? I wasn't aware of that.
Because over the
Okay,
years, I've known that webs are gonna go to the website looking for stuff, but
right.
if you send it to them, they'll read it and respond. So it's got what they call it,
My wife's always reading something on Facebook. What's that all about? She seems to know everything about everything going on. right now.
It's where the old demographic goes from this. I mean, if you're talking about the city, you're not gonna reach any students unless you're doing something on Instagram or TikTok. For people of our age, the social media platform of choice is gonna be Facebook,
Right.
almost universally. So part of your answer to your question is not just where do we post it, but through what channels do, and that means we decide who do we want to be hearing from this week? Do we want to get a young perspective and bring in a bunch of kids you just read to, or some members of the athletic department, or thrive at the high school, or do we want to talk and hear about, the retired part of the community, which there's a substantial number of people who are in their grandparent years. Those are two different demographics that would be attracted to certain issues on from a commission like this or a committee. But we did depend on what, who do we want is where you go.
Yeah.
in the early days of the Alliance, when we first started, we did the ride-alongs. And we did have students from high school, from Webster University. They came, they brought people with them that were still interested in the same things. And we got a pretty good following. And so it's just like I said, it's us going out to them versus them coming into us. So I was just saying, I know Sloan, she was ready to go to get whatever you needed from the high school. And, but we just never got there. For her to reach out to her friends or to the students to say, hey, come tell us what you need and things like that. So, just trying to find a piece on. Oh, yeah, this says, stay informed, keep connected with Notify Me. So they'll notify you if you're registered on the, in that area. So,
Oh, okay, yeah, that's the
Notify.
newsletters that I get via email. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know too many students who work in LSU that read email, but Instagram does.
And like if we
Definitely would be
reached
something.
out,
Yeah.
I know during the beginning of Beth, she was very involved with it. So we had her on the inside getting stuff done. And there were some local students that went to Webster University and students that was, that came in town. I would say at one point in time, we had 15, 20 students just to have on the, question answer, you know, what do you feel safe about Webster? What do you feel, can we do better? Things, those questions. So they honestly answered.
Barb, what have you got to share with us?
I am listening to everybody and kind of agree. I can't say no to any of it. My focus was not so much on the articles,
Mhm.
but on the ordinance itself, which not great. And I found it limping in a lot of areas. So I just took a different take on the whole, what we left the last meeting with. You know, there's a, let's rewrite it, or let's get rid of the kind of people, as long as they're residents of Webster, sounds good, because there should be an ebb and flow, I think, among those people. So I can't say I disagree with any of the thoughts that are now on the table, but I think my comments will be more as we start creating this creature called our ordinance. So that's why I'm a little quieter.
I think it's entirely valid to start getting people's thoughts about the ordinance itself. I do think we're gonna have to come down to 2 or 3 people are gonna have to sit down and draft it, but I think we need to get some ideas out there of, are there some whole sections that we say, you know what, this seems unnecessary. But I'm not a lawyer, I've never written an ordinance in my life, so
You don't learn that in law school either.
you don't learn that either.
Would it be right, we'll submit it to our attorney. And
Right.
He'll dress it up, but,
Why do we need an attorney? I'm sorry,
we,
John, no disrespect to you guys, but why are we focusing on, we should have the attorney?
Well, he's gonna review it to make sure that
You mean
it's
for
in
this?
line with what's
You mean
the
for this ordinance, you
state
mean?
constitutional laws.
For the ordinance, yeah, let's write
he,
the doggone
he,
thing.
he
and-
does all of it.
Well, okay, but the ordinance should be ours, we own it. We get his stamp of approval that we're not saying something dumb or that could be contentious or.
What you don't want to happen is the ordinance go before the council, and the council asks, did the attorney review this? And he say, no, I did not. And they're gonna just shoot it right over to him, and say, take a look at this and make the changes.
Okay,
I think you guys are in violent agreement. I think we could do the ordinance, doesn't have to be one of the lawyers.
Yeah.
You got us out, you're welcome. And then the attorney can review it.
Very smart.
Maybe one-
Well, we can keep it simple, you know.
I think
Well, that, I guess,
I think
not
that's the key.
having seen another ordinance, this one does seem overly lengthy with an awful lot of detail and all the duties. And so perhaps, you know, looking at something else, I don't know why this one's got quite as,
And I'll be honest, I'm sure I said this before, this was created for you to fail. I really do believe that. You know, with all the people different people you have to have, and all the rules and regulations. I didn't like it from the beginning. That's why we
who created it? The Alliance?
Nope.
And I'm not trying to, point fingers, but just where did it come from?
Well,
The Alliance did create that.
they were part of it. Jerry signed it on March 15, 2022. The Lions had a hand in it.
Yeah.
But I think they had the group of PCEB members, I guess. And then they created this, and then it was actually created. So, but all the steps and stuff in there is just, there's time and hands, but getting anything done. And believe me, in This is 2022. Yeah, I've been on that, yeah. So it was one before this,
Mhm.
was even worse.
Yeah,
And we just pulled out a lot of stuff. And then, you know, I didn't say we argued, but it was a heavy conversation in council. But why should we change it? You know, I said, well, you go find a preacher, you go find a nurse, you go find a doctor. I mean, you know, it's, it was, to me, like I said, it was just like, if you hear something, let me tie your hand so you can't get nothing done and move on.
so like one of the thoughts I had is rather than enumerate, this member shall be this and this and this. I mean, I think the overall goal is that the council that's doing the interviewing of candidates should be striving to get as much diversity of, demographics and perspective and expertise, skill sets that they bring
Mhm.
to the board, but without making it hard and fast rules that prevent us from having enough members.
Besides
Choose a
this
job.
commission, like I said, it's easy, like, I'm on the, Old Webster Commission. The two candidates now, so the, business owners, they already contacted somebody, I forgot who it was. His son is interested because it's part of the business, so you can fill out an application, and there's the guy, he is a business owner in Webster Groves. Council will read his application, see if it fits, and then we go on it. So, but if we have to, we don't like the young lady, what's her name, that just got on?
Brandy,
Well, we made an exception for her.
I know, but if we took that line out about having to have lived here for a full year before you can be a voting member, all of a sudden you would have another full member.
Yeah, but why do we need all those things that tie our hands? And so.
Just take
so
them out.
we talked
Mhm.
with the attorney, we can do this, and this, great, let's do it. And we got another member, So it's, for me, I think one of your tasks is to make this process as easy as possible that you can for candidates. And so you probably know somebody in your sphere of neighbors and connections that might want to be, but you can't talk to them because they're not a doctor or a preacher or whatever it is. And then, based on Don says you had 3 different items, I think, in the thing, page 7. That can be your headline. I mean, what can we do under this? What can we do under this? What can we do under that? And
Yeah, I feel like that's the next step is like taking a pen to the ordinance, making it broader than it currently is. These 3 headings could be a good starting point because I think you can fit, to John's point, fit a lot under those 3 headers, and then we're not tying ourselves to the specific bullet, which is just a few of the examples. And then, once we get that sorted out, then we can really think through what does a plan look like now, the things we want to do, and not be bound by what's in the ordinance. I'd be happy to take a first crack at it, actually, and maybe it's you and Brandy that I go to next in terms of, just I love Brandy's experience.
Yeah.
Just directly being involved in Seattle.
So we could get a draft from a group that's smaller than a quorum and then share it with everyone on the board before the next meeting so that we have a straw man to react to, because right now we still have this big, long document that's almost too much. We could also, Barb, you spent some time looking at the ordinance. If you had specific notes, or in fact, if anyone did, said, hey, this is what my thoughts are. I think Jill could take a crack at sort of incorporating those thoughts into this first draft. Does this sound like a good approach to move it forward?
Does.
I don't see any other.
Yeah, I mean, we gotta start somewhere, and we aren't gonna sit here with a red pen and mark it up, and it's just.
Yeah, when I went through and actually marked it up, most of my things were like, well, we don't actually do this, or like, we don't need to be this specific, like it's not terribly far off, it's just too much, it's too specific. Some things don't think
And-
aren't that clear.
And less might be more right now. I mean, maybe it's using
Yeah.
those 3 headers and each header
Yes.
gets 2 bullet points and that's it.
Mhm.
And then there's some language that is articulated later on that basically says we get to go ad hoc when something comes up and we get to kind of break off away
Yeah.
from these 3 things when something unique happens. So we have some latitude. Whether that's a policing change or a training change or something that comes up from an officer experience and we want to go support that differently, you know, I'm one of those ways, but I think it doesn't, clearly it's the density is the problem with this. And maybe we can just, you know, keep it simple and keep it elegant and lean in neat and then say, okay, lawyer for Webster Groves, all this boilerplate stuff, that's all this whereas bullshit and you know, all this stuff, it sounds legal. Put that
That's
in there.
necessary
Put
to
it, put it in there, but here's page 2 through 3.5, and that's what we just need to have approved. Fix it up for however legal consistency you might need to care about. You know, it's gotta probably look similar or same to other commissions and ordinances. It has to have the same language and ordinance numbering and things like that. Fine, just whatever you want to do with that, we don't care. We just want page 2 to say this.
Yeah.
And we want to, we also, as I was thinking about it, probably have to think through how does this board get held accountable if we lose 3 members? You know, and how do we recruit? I'd like to know how other commissions and boards recruit to kind of keep themselves viable, because if we lose 3 and one is the outgoing chair and no one else is gonna want to take it, does it die? I mean, so we're gonna think about the accountability, is there a city council liaison, but also serves as sort of a champion if something goes
Well,
away?
the way it is now, except for this commission, like we lost 2 board members on the old Webster Business Commission. You know, we stepped out, they quit, we went out of the business and found 2 more that wanted to step in and work with their board.
See, and I wasn't aware of that at all. I read the ordinance and thought, well, we have to wait for the council to tell us who it's gonna be and, you know, the way it was written, so.
They,
Yeah.
if once they send in an application, we receive it, we
Yeah.
read it. And what's different now than it was maybe 2 years ago or so is that council were actively seeking out members
Mhm.
to be part of the commission. We just don't wait for somebody to send in a
Mhm.
application over email. We think of people that's in the community that think be a good fit, and we ask them to apply.
Yeah.
And then, and because last,
And that's sort of the thing.
well, I think it was Brandy, yeah, it was Brandy, because I had a chance to talk to Brandy before when she, and so when it came time to, I said, I support this,
Mhm.
you know, this person. And I think I did the same thing with you. Didn't I talk to you?
I think you tried to shoot me down, actually.
You
Cast
know,
a net over
but
it.
when it came to, it's like I said, yes, these are 2 people that I'm comfortable with. And, you know, I like to move them through and council just move them through.
Emerson, who else does the kind of thing? Every time you've talked about an opening, you have been the one to reach out. I know him, so I talk to him. I know her. So, you know, it sounds like you're doing a lot of the recruiting. Is it difficult to get people to kind of look in their neighborhoods or wherever and to recruit? I'm sure you probably say, well, anybody can do it. But if nobody is doing it, then to Lexi's point, how does it happen? You know, is there like a default?
You can look out in the community, people that you know that's civic minded and can follow, or at least based on this ordinance, you can say they'll be a good fit. If you talk to them, fill out an application online, and it'll go through the process. And then if you send somebody and you say, hey, Emerson, I had so-and-so submit an application. And then, cause we get them all before the interview, before the council. And like I said, I probably will call them up, talk 2.5 minutes and, because in some cases, just getting a warm body in the chair, but, like I said, this is the only commission is that difficult.
Well, the big difference is, I mean, I'm a business owner in Old Webster, right? And so why do I want to be on that commission? Because they spend my tax dollars on things that affect me, right? And so there's that motivation. I'm sitting here, I still don't know what our purpose is, right? And what we're here to do. And I'm not going to be motivated to join it unless I know it's going to do something I care about, right? That's an easy sell for me. I was on the Old Webster Trade Association for many years because the carriage rides for the open house were in front of Leopard Boutique, right? There's reasons to be there and do things, right? And I think once we determine what our purpose is, the rest of it will flow. And I still think we're kind of stuck on what that is. Is it limited to police engagement, right? And their relationship to the community? Or is it something broader as far as public safety and fire and do we want to be a touch point for the whole community to the safety bureaucracy of Webster Groves?
My recommendation is to put the death pen to the audience. What we don't need in there, and then add the 3 bullet points on page 7, so you can get an idea of what the ordinance is going to look like. Because it don't really, like I said, all that fluff stuff is not adding anything. Pretty much, this top portion is probably from the attorney, and the other stuff is just what they wanted in it. But it's just that,
Well, there are things too that would be useful that don't need to be part of the ordinance. Like last meeting, we were talking about, we need to define our process for evaluating what's our next project, what's our next area of focus, and how do we evaluate it? Well, that's something that we have to define, but we don't have to codify it. And it feels like maybe everything got put in here. It's this wish list of every possible thing, and it wasn't.
I can put a red pen to this document so fast.
Okay.
I mean, it's just, like I said, when you start taking out what you don't think is needed, and then you put in, maybe things on page 7, then you start creating your purpose. Why are we here? Based on what we have left, what is it there left for us to do? And then, for me, like as I told you before, to me, it's public safety. That's what it's going to all boil down to. But I think then you'll come up with your mission, your vision, and all that good stuff. You're really lucky if you can come up with a page and a half of stuff.
Okay. Well, I think then that's a good approach, Jill.
Yeah.
I took some notes, but I think they've all been voiced, in the room here. And Barb, if you have any specifics, if any of you have something like, boy, I really like this part of the ordinance, don't get rid of that, or what I really think was missing and we'd like to see added, share that with Jill. We've all got her email, and she's gonna take her red pen and just start cutting away at it.
Well, I'm gonna send you my red pen.
We have your memo, and so we know 90% of it will go.
Oh, well, it's just that I just want to create something that can work from,
Yes,
Frankly,
Absolutely.
I plan to start from scratch.
yes.
Yeah, I think that'd be easier.
Yeah, well, yes, it's more like, what are the few nuggets that we want to
Agreed,
keep?
yeah.
Yeah, the only thing I'd want to preserve is if there is another situation that comes up where there is conflict between the community and the police, that we're still available to address, right?
Yeah.
And maybe better poised because we've dealt with other issues by the time it does come up, and we're a trusted
place source, right?
Yeah.
Because even the article you shared, you know, it was with the police and with the fire.
Mhm.
You know, it just wasn't with the police.
Mhm.
Two houses that flooded and condemned by FEMA. All of a sudden they caught fire. Public safety issue. You know,
See, I don't think, you know, I'm looking at the duties here. It'd be helpful, by the way, Jill, and I know you'll do this, try making a sentence out of these things too. You have to have a verb, and there aren't a lot, but the very first one says suggesting methods, these are duties. Suggesting methods to enhance relations between the police department and the people of Webster Groves, period, amen. You know, that is very broad, covers a lot of what we do. So when we just say something like safety, and I was doing some searching on what is the goal or what is the purpose of a police department? One said, and I like this, keep the peace. You know, which I could expand. I don't like when it says customer service. That's what a call center does. Policing is a lot more than that. So, but I don't think it has to be, you know, it needs to be a word. I don't think it needs to be spelled out with 11 other different, you know, ways of saying the same thing. Representative making recommendations to the police, well, that's enhance the relations between the police department and people of Webster. You know, it's the same thing, just expanded. So many of us have said this. I mean, I think we could get this whole ordinance down to a front and the back. You know, and then let the lawyer do their little frills around it, whatever you need.
Sounds
But
good.
yeah, very direct but general. So we're not tripping over ourselves sometimes in trying to do things.
Yeah, that sounds good. All right, well, that's what we'll do then. The plan will be then to share this draft with the whole group before we meet, so you have time to look at it, give it some thought, and I know Brandy has committed to coming to the next meeting, so our final topic tonight is figuring out when is our next meeting. So it is scheduled typically the fourth Tuesday of the month. That is the week of Thanksgiving. A lot of people travel. It also feels like a long time away. It's hard for us sometimes, though, to schedule a different time. I do not want to try a new location again. That was challenging. Parking is hard over at Webster U.
No, it's not.
It's not, where would we should just go over to the parking garage.
Across town.
reserve spot that they always have.
We bring 7,000 people on campus for graduation on one day, and there's always stuff at the top of the park.
So just go to the parking garage is the answer. Okay,
Any point A, point B, there is 10 minutes walking. That's it.
okay.
Get your
Very
steps in, you can feel very much.
All right.
Get a nice lovely day, you can see a bird fly by, whistle at you.
Well, see it wash you.
What about snowing?
All right, you guys have got it figured out much better than we do. But anyway, do we want to continue with the 26th being the next meeting? That's the Tuesday before Thanksgiving. Or would we like to try and push it up by a week?
Sure.
I know, I was thinking that people might be hoping to travel.
Yeah, I got an appointment in Charleston that I need to be at.
No,
Just,
But
I'm
this-
making stuff up now.
gonna be in Tampa.
I'm gonna go
Well,
to, Charleston and
Well, I'm going to Tampa for the city from the
Okay.
12th to the 15th, from the 16th to the 23rd. It's really vacation.
To see
Charleston.
Okay, well,
December and Christmas Eve.
Yeah, I mean, these next two meetings are the ones that are always
Yeah.
hard. So is it a possibility of doing it on the 19th? I
Not-
know you're
not
on
me, I'm
vacation,
gone,
but
yeah.
you're, it sounds like you're.
But you know, but
fine.
I can zoom in, because it's not gonna last that long.
Yeah, sure.
Let's see, what day are you looking at again?
Looking at the 19th, I was thinking that keeping it on a
probably-
Tuesday.
That normally city council though,
Yeah.
yeah.
First and third, yeah.
What about,
What,
I don't have a conflict on the 26th.
you know,
I could make it too, like, maybe it's on Zoom and. It's just-
would you be able to?
I could
Zoom,
zoom,
Jeff?
I should know where I'm gonna be at, but I could zoom for sure.
We're doing Maggiano's for Thanksgiving, so I'll be here.
Yeah, be here for that chili on Wednesday.
Yeah,
So
yeah, I
think about the year.
will, I'll get this done,
Could you do it on the 19th is out because of city council?
Yeah, but we couldn't mute here. We'd have to,
Here we go again.
yeah.
So the 26th,
Can we make it a Zoom call, and be on either date, I mean, where we can make it Zoom.
Yeah.
The 19th, maybe.
I can do it on the 19th, I mean,
That would be city council then.
that's right.
okay.
I can't be on that.
Is that just
No.
because
That would also.
First and
Like
ninth,
it's-
first and
we
third,
might get something done?
first, yeah. First and third Tuesday. But I can tell you, we wind down for the year.
You can always just zoom in if the meetings, you know, if you can't make it, so there's always an option.
We just need somebody to start up the Zoom room for us on the city Zoom account. Is that something?
The city
that we-
council is in here
Uh-huh.
for the 6:30 to 7:30. And the same Zoom is in the chambers.
So it's just not available on.
Yeah, the 19th is just,
It's just not a possibility.
20
Well, I can
keeping
host.
it at the 26th would still work and we could just do
It's your-
the whole thing could be Zoom if nobody wants to come in.
I saw that. I got a ticket. It was after hours and I misinterpreted it. I was only there for 10 minutes. You know, so,
They're after you.
yeah, they've got my license plate.
So if we wanted to do the 19th, then I could host it at Webster University and then Zoom.
But neither Vince nor Emerson will be able to attend.
Because they've got to be at the city
Oh,
council. Yeah,
11/26.
so the 26th.
Yeah.
Okay,
I can do it too. I
all right. In some ways, I think I've just become so accustomed to Zoom. It's nice to be able to look at something up on the screen and we all know what place we're looking at. So I think that would work really well. All right, so when we'll meet on the 26th November, 6:30. This time,
Who's on that
this
subcommittee
place
and
if
when
you're
are they meeting?
available. Subcommittee?
I'm gonna take a first.
Oh, it's a
stab at
city.
it,
Jill
and
is
then
gonna
probably
go
share
on her
with Randy
own
Randy.
and
Okay,
just
okay,
cut
okay.
at it. She was gonna send it to me and Brandy.
Okay,
And then, because we've got to keep it smaller than a forum. And then we'll send that around to everybody and you can all take your stab at doing the edits. And then we'll meet and bring that all together then,
okay,
at the meeting. Does that sound
sounds great.
reasonable? Okay.
So about how long will it take you to do that? Just
Yeah,
trying to
I
figure out
mean,
about when we're gonna get this.
like, let's try to get you all at least a week before. Is that reasonable?
Sure.
So Lexi, I'll kind of work backwards from there.
Okay.
Thursday. Yeah, I mean, it's just a matter of me sitting down and mapping it out, right? Like, yeah. It won't take me too long. Yeah. Yeah. I enjoy it. I just gotta sit down and find the time.
Okay.
And if you want me to edit even before you send it over there, just a quick one, send it to me.
Do I, there's a forum 5.
We have
As long as
to,
we have less than 5.
it has to be less than 5.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we can do 4.
Okay.
All
But
right.
even if what I'm saying, even if she just wants to send it to me and I send it back to her and say, hey, looks good.
It was this whole thing of if you have more than, if you have a quorum in the chain of back and forth, that
Right,
it's
like
into the
that,
territory
like we have to factor
of
in,
sunshine
yeah.
violations. Which, by the way, I don't know if you noticed, but the last email, we've got an updated handbook for boards, and there are, just all the governing principles that we have to follow. I haven't read it all. But I did attend the session about sunshine law and the
Just as long as you send it to one person, and one person send it back to you, you should be okay. And then if you,
But then if I send it to two more, like now we're, you know, what I mean? That's
it's a
where you-
brand new email,
brand new email.
Yeah.
Oh, that's better.
that should be fine. So we do it at city council.
Make a thank you.
Another
person
okay,
just
so
for a
now-
couple of.
Yeah.
It's not cumulative?
Yeah, I was,
Because I would say, a couple of years ago, I take that back, been, what's the term, 4 years? Yes, 4 years ago. That, they didn't have any subcommittees. They didn't get it done on the first and third Tuesday. It didn't get done. That's why it took them a whole year to get 3 things done. So now we use subcommittees to get it done.
so we've concluded all our business for tonight. Who wants to go? We have a move to close our meeting.
I'll move to adjourn.
Okay, I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right.
All right.
Okay, well, thank you all. It's good to see you.
All right.
See, buddy.
All right, yeah, I've had a long day today. All right.
I'd like, how are you? Good.
It'd be good.